Greetings, 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 royal family. I'm back. Marriage boot camp. This is the sixth day in the house. Thanks for clicking on the video, y'all. I know I am mad late with this review, but get comfortable because I'm gonna make this quick for you guys. Okay. I've calmed down since watching this episode, and I am going to just basically let loose, just like I did on the last one. Anyway, so as if last week's episode wasn't bad enough, right? So this episode opens up with that same scene where it ended, and that's with Vado being hands-on with Tahiri. Um, Very interesting. And I said to myself, man, anything for ratings. Anyway, Tony ends up getting up and she sits beside Tahiri to provide her with some sort of comfort, and she asks her if she's okay. And you can see Tahiri, she's just so flabbergasted and she's shocked. She says that she can't even believe that, and everyone is sitting around saying that they couldn't believe that either. Medina in his confessional said that that's not cool. I think what's her name? Hazel E was the only one that had a reaction, like an outburst, like, are you serious? So Vado is being escorted out of the living room area by Dr. Ish, and everyone is just trying to console Tahiri and find out if she's okay. And in Tahiri's confessional, Tahiri says, Vado lost it. He put his hands on me. That's not like him. And I thought it was very interesting for her to point out that this is not Vado's typical behavior. Tahiri says that Vado is different when he drinks. So we shift gears and we see Dr. Ish and Vado. They're talking, and they're separated from the group. And Vado is telling Dr. Ish about, the incident that happened when Tahiri threw 2 apples and hit him in the face. Dr. Ish replies, she could have hit you with 2 hands in the face. You still can't put your hands on her. And I said, wow. Wow, just wow. That's all I have to say. And Vado said, I didn't swing on her. And Vado also made it clear that, Tahiri, he was expressing how he felt. He said that Tahiri embarrassed him on TV. She didn't apologize, and she continued to talk bad about him in front of everyone when they were in group. So Dr. Ish tells him that he has to use his words and he can't use his hands. That I agree with. I agree with Dr. Ish on that. And Vado, he seems hurt, and he just seems like he knew he messed up. He even said that, I knew I messed up, and I just lost control. And Dr. Ish says, can't have you around. So basically, Vado, just as I suspected, is getting booted out of the boot camp house. I saw this coming. So Vado, he has to stay in Dr. Ish's office for the night, and security will be posted outside of Dr. Ish's office. That way no one can exit or enter the room. I said, wow. This is marriage boot camp, or is this jail? Anyway, Dr. Ish, he goes back out to address the group, and he asks Tahiri, how she feels. And she says, that's that Hennessy, the Hennessy makes him act like that. And Dr. Ish responds, I don't care if it's the liquor. I don't care if you threw apples, bananas. There's never an excuse. Now, in my opinion, what Dr. Ish did in that moment was basically reinforce Tahiri's abusive behavior that she displays all the time. That's my opinion, okay? And I'm pretty sure that he probably, it wouldn't have been a good idea for him to point out what she did. She's equally responsible for this whole, altercation, in my opinion. That probably wasn't the best time for him to point that out because the whole group was in shock. And I just also want to mention that that's not the first time that Tahiri put her hands on Vado. She's mushed him, she's thrown things at him. And I feel like this was the perfect time for Dr. Ish to say to everyone, after making sure that Tahiri was okay, of course, right? He did the right thing by asking her if she's okay and, just making sure she's all right. I think that this would have been the perfect time for Dr. Ish to address the whole group and say violence, regardless of sex or gender, is never okay. Even if he just left it at that, I would have respected him much more than I did in this scene. That's my opinion. And to me, it's almost as if this narrative, men cannot be victims. It just makes it seem, it perpetuates this narrative that men can't be victims. And I think that that's toxic as hell. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say this. and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, Tahiri is the type of woman that I would want my son to stay far away from. She seems very nice. You know, when she first came into the house, she seemed cool. You know, she does have a reputation on Love and Hip Hop, but I would strongly suggest for my son to stay far away from someone like Tahiri for a number of reasons. Dr. Ish, he proceeds to reinforce Tahiri's violent behavior by saying there is nothing you did to trigger that. There is nothing you did to deserve that. All of that sounds good. And as far as her deserving what Vado did, no, I don't think she deserved that. You know, that's a strong word. But it just seems to me that Dr. Ish was trying to avoid a lawsuit, for the network. Like, he didn't want the network to get hit with a lawsuit, because Tahiri could very well sue the network. Even though she signed the contract, she still could sue. And Dr. Ish tweeted when this situation first happened on last episode. He did send out a tweet, Dr. Ish that is, and he said that we are going to make this right, Tahiri. Like, basically saying, letting the world know, like, Tahiri, this is never an excuse for a man to be hands-on with a woman. And Tahiri, we're going to make this right. So, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. Not really mixed feelings, strong feelings, but I ain't going to press the gas too much. Anyway, so she gets up, Tahiri that is, and she goes and sits next to Hazel, who consoled her, and Dr. Ish, he dismissed the group, due to what took place. So the next scene is Dr. Ish and Tahiri. They're sitting together and they're talking, and he lets her know that Vado will not be in the room with her tonight, and then asked her if she wants to get the police involved. He asked her if she wants to file a police report, and she said no. And like I said, he's taking precautions to prevent a lawsuit possibly, right? If this is your first time here, I just want to pause real quick. FYI, if this is your first time seeing my review for this show and you're looking for me to drag Vado, I did that on the previous review. You might want to check it out. Make sure you hit the like button and comment. Anyway, so Tahiri, she said that Vado has never put his hands on her. And she has been in abusive relationships in the past. She made mention to that several times in the beginning of the season. And Dr. Ish is just saying that he's worried. He's worried about how she's taking this. He says that you're just so calm, and that makes me nervous. So he's basically saying that Tahiri has grown accustomed to being in physically abusive relationships, and that scares him. Let's move along. Shift gears real quick. We'll come back to Tahiri. So Corrupt and Tony, they're sitting outside, and Corrupt says that they were both wrong, and he says you can't throw things at people. And Tony replies, that's not an excuse. He had no right to put his hands on her. I don't care what she did. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what people have been conditioned to believe. Like, I don't care what she did. To me, when you say that, that sends the message to some women that they can do whatever to a man. That's toxic to me. That's extremely toxic. And like I said, I dragged Vado and said that Vado should have exhibited some self-control. I said this on my previous review. I feel that both Tahiri and Vado are wrong. 50% and 50%. They both are wrong. It's not an excuse. Like, I'm not trying to make an excuse for Vado at all. And I don't think it's coming across that way, but I'm sure somebody will take it that way. It's the reason. Like, I don't think Corrupt was making an excuse for Vado. And I agree. They both are wrong. Both of them are wrong. Whatever. Anyway, Tahiri and Shonda, they're talking, and they're sitting outside. They're talking. Tahiri is crying to her. And she says, he knows better. Tahiri just kept saying that he knows better. And Shonda tells her that she's a strong girl. Listen, some people are addicted to being victims because they'll get a pass for their behaviors and they get attention. I'm not making this up. This is true. It's science. Look it up. There are some people who are really addicted. They have that victim mentality. Again, I am not blaming Tahiri. But there is a pattern here with her if you've watched her on other shows. Like, I'm not saying that Tahiri is one of those people per se, but she certainly is showing some characteristics of this type of person. I'm just saying. Anyway, we move on. The next day, we see Phaedra in her confessional. She says There's never an excuse for violence, woman or man or woman. Either way, it's unacceptable. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying, Phaedra. So Vado, he acknowledged that, he had no business doing what he did. He says that he just lost it. And he was talking to Dr. Ish at this point. Dr. Ish told Vado, look, we're going to have a meeting, so on and so forth. So Judge Toller and production, they sit down with a, quote, plan. AKA, they're going to be kicking Vado out the house, bottom line. So I'm not against their decision to remove Vado from the house. I am, however, against production not stepping in when Tahiri assaulted Vado, and Tahiri not being asked to leave as well. I'm going to be saying that over and over again. And also, where was the production sit down when Willie and Davon, with an apostrophe, started tussling in the kitchen? You know what I mean? Like, they could have hurt other people, and they could have gotten themselves hurt. Like, that was a tussle. That was a altercation, fight. And there was no production sit down. Is it because they were able to iron their situation out? But whatever. So Judge Toller says no matter what they think that they can do while they're in the house, once they allow Vado to stay, like if they allow Vado to stay after he was hands-on with Tahiri, it sends the wrong message. And I don't disagree with Judge Toller, but the same should go for Tahiri. I'm just saying. Anyway, and Judge Toller was via satellite because she was sick. Like I said, I'm not against their decision. And Judge Toller, articulated that very well. It's true. If Vado stays, it is going to send the wrong message. And, Willie and Davon, they're still in the house. So I just, to me, all of this just seems like damage control. And it's bogus, in my opinion. Straight up bogus. Anyway, so we move on to see Tahiri. She's talking to Phaedra, who asked her if she saw Vado last night. And Tahiri says no. However, she would like to talk to him, but Dr. Ish wouldn't allow it. So Dr. Ish kept them apart. Neither one of them could talk to the other, which was good. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I get it. Damage control. So Tahiri, she mentions to Willie, because they're all sitting in the kitchen, that Vado is not the type to explode. And he's never acted like this toward her. So we shift gears again to Vado and Dr. Ish, and he mentions mastering his emotions, blah, blah, blah. Oh, God. Then he talks about actions and consequences, blah, blah, blah. So he's pretty much scolding Vado. And Vado, he's upset and says that Tahiri has been coming at him. Now, this setup right here, I didn't appreciate. Dr. Ish says, so she was asking for it. And without hesitation, Vado says yes. In the middle of him heated and talking and expressing himself, Dr. Ish said, so she asked for it. And Vado said, yeah. And then he realized quickly what he said and tried to correct himself. He's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Now, I have to say that Dr. Ish is bogus, man. He's straight up bogus. And I have yet to see any evidence of progress when it comes to him counseling these couples. And yeah, I know it's a TV show, right? I feel like he's continued to have the couples participate in activities that incite conflict, right? Corrupt, he still has access to unlimited hard liquor when he was just in the emergency room like 2 episodes ago. Like, Dr. Ish, them WeTV checks must be fat, huh? Anyway, moving on to Dr. Ish again and Tahiri. So he lets her know, hey, Vado is leaving the house. And he asks her if she feels comfortable staying and finishing the program. She says yes. She says that she would like to continue the program with him. In her confessional, she said, we came together to get help. Yada, yada. Corrupt, he found a bottle of Hennessy, so he cracks it open and starts drinking. Dr. Ish comes in at that point and addresses the group and lets them know, look, Vado has left the house. He's not kicked out of the program, but I'll be working with him one-on-one from a hotel room. So he's just leaving the house. And Phaedra, she confirms my thoughts by saying that Vado was a liability and Dr. Ish has to maintain integrity of the program as well as the safety of the participants, AKA they don't want no lawsuits, just like I said. And again, I'm not against that, but if Vado has to go, then Tahiri should go too. But anyway, none of this was a factor when Willie and Davon, got into it, nor Tahiri throwing objects. Now he's a liability. Like Davon and Willie weren't a liability. Tahiri's not a liability as well. Like Dr. Ish, again, he says there will be no violence in the house. Now, this is the third incident of violence, and he's still saying the same thing. Anyway, next exercise, they're supposed to write down what they dislike about themselves, and Tahiri says that she doesn't like her nose. That's what she hates about herself. She said that a man punched her in the nose and broke it, and now it's crooked. And she got a little emotional about that. Corrupt says that he dislikes his ignorance and his, I don't give a F mentality. They all basically just reiterate the same things that they've been talking about since day one, right? And it's just, to me, these exercises just seem extremely repetitive. So the canvases that they were writing on, they were actually t-shirts. So these are the t-shirts that they're going to be wearing so that they can own what they dislike about themselves. Just trivial nonsense. Next exercise is they punch a dummy to let out their anger. So Phaedra, thank you, Phaedra, for providing some comic relief in this episode, sis. Thank you. So she has on her little boxing gloves, and Phaedra, she didn't really want to break her nails. So Phaedra's like, I hate that I'm a perfectionist. And she punches the head of the little dummy like, And then the sound effects were like, ting, ting. That was hilarious. So she was so dainty. Hazel, she says that she hates that her rap career isn't taking off. Hazel, I hate the fact that you think you actually have a rap career. Corrupt, we move on to Corrupt. So that thing was over. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying to pull out what I can. We shift gears and we see Corrupt. He's in the kitchen and he's talking to Tahiri. Tony and Shonda, they join. They're in the kitchen. And Corrupt, he reveals that his mother is no longer alive, and Tony is the closest person to him since his mom passed away. He gets emotional and then he walks off. And Tony is just saying, yeah, I know about that. I've had to deal with that for years. She said everybody in her family is deceased, and she got emotional, so she was drying her tears. And her whole thing is, at what point do you take responsibility for your actions? I mean, yes, your mom passed away and you were very close, but at what point do you take responsibility for your actions? So later on that night, Tony, she checks Corrupt's phone and sees that Corrupt is called or text some girl that he was working with or that he texted before. Tony cusses him out in their confessional, and Corrupt acts like he doesn't care. This show is trash. Straight up trash. Straight up trash, y'all. That's all I got. If you enjoyed the commentary, hit the like button. I mean, it's not that I'm being lazy with this review, but this episode was absolutely crazy to me, and I'm just still a little bit annoyed at the fact that there's a lot of reinforcing of negative behaviors. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel that both Tahiri and Vado should be held accountable equally because they both had choices, right? Tahiri made a choice to get physical. Vado made a choice to get physical. And I just, this is so destructive to me. And again, this show is trash. Yeah, Dr. Ish, I guess those checks must be fat. Listen, it is what it is. So that's all I got, y'all. Ain't got no more. Please drop your comments. Let me know what you think. You can disagree with me. I have no problem with that as long as you disagree respectfully. Let me know what you think. Yeah. So I'm signing off. Until next time, folks. Peace.